Hello, and welcome back to Unhelpful Yoda. It's been a year since I've purchased my PlayStation 5, and I just want to do a review on the system, how it's been over the last year, the games I've played, how I feel about the system itself, is it worth even picking up? The system is 2 years old now, but I've only had it for a year. It took me an entire year to find the system at retail price, and that was I was actively trying to get it. Not actively trying to get it every single day, because I got a life, but actively looking for the system and trying to get into lines online to try and buy the system. It took me a year to purchase it. I uploaded my unboxing of it, I think early December, but I bought it about a week or two prior. So it's been about a year. So we're going to go look at where I play the PlayStation 5 so you can get an idea of what I'm using to play the system. We'll talk about the system itself, and then we'll get into the games I've actually played on the system in the last year. Alright, and here we have where I play the actual PlayStation 5. As you can see, it is here. It fits here, but it doesn't really fit in these cubes, so I had to put it on the top, kind of behind the TV. But it works, it's functional. We play on a 55-inch Samsung curved television, and I really like this TV. It looks very good. It sounds very good. This is perfect. I have no complaints. The system itself is relatively quiet. I don't really have any complaints. It looks good. It plays well. System is great. However, we do have the controller, and I don't actually like the controller too much. The controller itself feels fine, but it dies so quickly. It's insane. This thing dies like every 2 hours. It's ridiculous. Also, the controller is all white, and it gets kind of gross really quickly. There's like dirt that gets built up inside of it, and on top of it's got like this roughness to it, but that gets really dirty really quickly. I do clean my controller occasionally. I mean, I'm not like obsessively cleaning the thing, but I do clean it occasionally, but it still gets really dirty really quickly, just from using it, from grinding your hands on it. So I don't know. I kind of wish it wasn't a white controller. I prefer the older PlayStation controllers. The PS1 or PS2, 3, and 4 all had black controllers, and they just stayed nicer longer. Even like the Xbox controller, it has that same roughness, but it doesn't look anywhere near as dirty. And the Switch, while it doesn't have that roughness to it, it also just doesn't look anywhere near as dirty. Overall, that's my only real complaint with the actual system itself. The controller gets dirty, and it dies a lot. The controller dies way more than it should. Like, honestly, for an $80 controller, I feel like they could have put a better battery in this thing. Like, again, the Switch controller has about the same amount of tech actually in the controllers. They're not that different. But the Switch controller lasts like 40 hours or something. This thing never dies. This thing I can't even play for more than like an hour or two without it dying. It's insane. And next up, we're going to talk about the games that I have purchased for the PlayStation 5 in this last year. I've purchased 15 games. I've got a nice stack here. First, we'll cover one that I purchased that I do not actually have, and that is Horizon Forbidden West. If you look back on the channel or if you saw the video before, I purchased the collector's edition that comes with my big-ass elephant here, and it looks really, really cool, and I really like it, and this is like one of my favorite collector's editions that I have. But there is a small problem with it. It comes with a digital copy of the game. So I did purchase this for the PS5, so I got the PS5 version of the game, but it was digital. I don't really like digital games. If you couldn't tell, digital is not my thing. I'm a physical collector. I don't really like saying collector, but I like physical games. I like to own what I have. I like to be able to touch it and feel it and That sounds creepy. Anyway, I don't really like digital games, so I don't usually buy them. I did not know going into purchasing this that it was digital, or I assumed it was a physical copy. It even comes with a steelbook, so like, what the fuck are you putting in the steelbook if you don't have it? So I don't have a physical copy of this game currently. Eventually I'll pick one up, but I'm not going to pay $70 for a physical copy of Horizon when I already have the game and I've played the game. But we'll start with that, and I did like the game, sort of. I really liked it when I first played it, and I got about 10-ish hours in, but honestly, there was way too much talking in that game, and I'm someone who does like story games, so usually that's not a problem, but I really didn't care about the story at all, and that kind of pulled me out of it. I was much happier when I was just running around doing whatever I want, attacking the machines and collecting stuff. I was much happier doing that, and the story interruption was kind of annoying. This is an instance where the gameplay was fun, but the actual game just did not work for me. I kind of had similar problems with the original game, but I got through that game. I did get through Horizon Zero Dawn, but I couldn't get through this one. I stopped playing about 10 hours in. And there is a reason for that, as probably most people who played it and then stopped playing it. Elden Ring came out, and that started taking up more of my time, and then by the time I was done with Elden Ring, I really didn't want to go back to Horizon. I will note that while I did buy Elden Ring and play it on the PlayStation 5, I actually bought the PS4 version because I bought the collector's edition again, and nice figure here. I actually really like this one. But it was a PS4 version. I didn't actually buy it on the PS5, although I do think you get I think it came with a free upgrade for it. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. That one did come physically. It says upgrade available, but I don't remember if it was free or not. So I did play this on the PlayStation 5, but I bought a PS4 copy. Speaking of Elden Ring, I guess I should talk about it since I did play it on the PlayStation. I did not like it at all. Not my kind of game. And I knew this going in, so that's my fault. It's not a bad game or anything like that. I don't really like the Dark Souls games. They're just not really for me. I don't find them fun. However, they always look really, really good. The world always looks really good. Everything about it, the lore, everything about the game looks really good and looks like something I would enjoy. And then I play the game, and it's miserable. I get they're supposed to be hard, and I don't really have an issue with the difficulty per se. I'm not horrible at the game. I can play it, I can get through a chunk of it, but that's just not how I like to play games. Some people do really find that rewarding, and they want to sit there and struggle to get through things, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that, but when I play games, it's more to relax. I already have a very stressful life. I don't really need it to be more stressful, and playing a game where I keep doing the same thing over and over again, it gets too stressful for me. It's not something I enjoy doing. I played it for a few hours, I think, again, like 10, 15 hours into the game, and then I just stopped playing. It just became more of a chore than actually something enjoyable for me, and that's just not fun. Again, for me, that's not fun. Like I said, I knew that going into the game. I've played other Dark Souls games. I've played several of these games at this point, and I never liked them. I keep buying them, and then I don't like them. But I really did want to get this one. It had George R.R. Martin doing the story stuff for it, which I didn't really notice a whole lot of story going on, but whatever. So I thought this be a little bit different. If it was a little bit more story-driven, I thought it might work for me a little bit better. I'd have a reason to progress and get through the game, but honestly, it just felt like running around doing random things, which I know I said was the part I liked with Horizon, but I feel like they both just sit on the opposite extremes of things that I didn't end up liking, and I really wanted to be somewhere towards the middle for both games. Horizon was way too story heavy, and I felt like every time I was actually enjoying it and doing something that I wanted to be doing and just running around doing what I wanted to do, I was being interrupted. But with Elden Ring, I was always running around just doing random things, but it never felt like I was actually doing anything or getting anywhere. If either one had met somewhere in the middle, I think I would have enjoyed both of them more, or either one of them more. Alas, that's just not how the games were. Elden Ring was it was lacking in story too much, and Horizon was lacking in time to actually play the game. It was too heavy on the story. So, it is what it is. They're both good games. If you are into either one of them, I don't blame you. I think both games are very good. They're just not for me. It's just not what I wanted to play, so I moved on from them very quickly, and honestly have no intentions of going back. I don't see a reason to. Alright, let's move on to the games that I have physically for the PlayStation. This will be in alphabetical order, because that's how I keep my games for the most part. So starting off with Deathloop. I didn't like this game. So far, we've had a trend of every game I've played on the system I just did not like. But in this case, I didn't like the game from the start. I played it, and I got through the main, not the main story, but like the main introduction chapter where you're on the beach and you have to go through the area. And it wasn't my kind of game. The comedy just didn't really work for me, and honestly, without that, I feel like it's just an FPS. And that's fine, I guess. I don't know. I have nothing bad to say about this game. This falls right in with the other ones. I have nothing bad to say about it. It just didn't keep my interest. Didn't really give this one as fair a shake as the other two, though. I think I stopped playing this about an hour and a half or 2 hours in. I played it for one afternoon, stopped playing, and I just never went back to it. So I am willing to say that if I went back to it, I might enjoy it more. It's probably not a bad game. I've heard a lot of good things, but I also heard the ending was really bad, so maybe that was a little bit of bias. I didn't intend to purchase it when it was being revealed. I kind of got tired of looking at the game when they were showing it all the time. It looked good the first time, and then every time they showed it, it just got a little annoying, like they overshowed it. And I think that was a big complaint a lot of people had, and then eventually it came out, and I eventually picked it. I picked it up late. I didn't even buy it like on release or anything like that. I picked it up a little later, and by the time I played it, I'd already heard that the ending was just not good, that was, like, it ruined the game for a lot of people, and I went into it, and I'm just like, the game's fine, but if the ending's bad, and the beginning was okay, do I really want to spend the time to play this game when I have a billion other games that I have to play? Not have to play, but there's a billion other games that I want to play, things that I own, that I've owned for years, that just I haven't gotten to play. So, do I want to waste my time playing something that I'm not particularly loving immediately, and that the ending was bad? So, I think that kind of just tainted my opinion on the game, and I just stopped playing it really quickly. But that being said, if you haven't played the game, I'd suggest trying it. It seems like a good game. It was fun to actually play. It just didn't hold my interest, and at that point I moved on pretty quickly. That is a common theme with me with games. If they don't catch my interest immediately, I usually just move on, because I have so many games to play and so little time to actually play the games that I just move on quickly. If it doesn't pique me, if it doesn't get me into the game immediately and keep me moving, I'm usually falling out immediately and just moving on to something else. I don't have time to waste on games that are okay. I want to just play things that grab my attention and that I enjoy immediately, and this just wasn't it. This, on the other hand, did. However, I played it on the PS4, not the PlayStation 5. I rebought it on the PlayStation 5 because I had to, and I haven't played it on the PlayStation 5 since I bought it, but I did download it. And that is Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade. So, if you don't know, this is a PS4 game that got re-released on the PS5, but the DLC for it is only on the PlayStation 5, which is stupid. Also, the DLC isn't on the disc, which is even more stupid. I don't like that. Like, you made the DLC exclusive to this version of the game, but then you didn't even put it on the disc? Killing me here. You're killing me, Square. Anyway, the game was really good. I played it so I played this during the lockdown like 2 years ago now. Jesus. And I beat it in like a week, and I loved it. I've never played the original Final Fantasy VII. I own it, but I've never played it. I'm not really a PS1 fan. I don't like playing PS1 games. So this was great, and a lot of people don't seem to like it, and I don't know why. Maybe the original version was a lot different and played a lot better or something. I don't really know for what it is, because the original version's still there. So if you like that version better, that's fine. But for what this is, it was a really good game. It was really fun. I really loved the characters. Jessie apparently isn't a very big character in the original, but she has a much larger role in this one, and she was probably my favorite character in this. And it looked good, it played good, the story was really, really strong, and I can't wait for the sequel. or the part 2, whatever they're calling it. I actually forget what they're calling it. But they did announce that it's going to be 3 parts, I think it was. And the second part comes out, I think, in 2 years, or like 2024. But yeah, can't wait. Definitely going to pick up the sequel when it comes out. Really love this game. I really do want to go back and play the intermission DLC for this, because it looks really good. I don't really know how the character fits in the story, but I can't wait to find out. So this is one of the ones that's just up for me to play again because I want to get the DLC played. But I did really enjoy the main game when I played it when it released. Next up we have a game that I have not yet played, and that is Ghostwire Tokyo. It is still sealed because I haven't gotten around to it. I did buy this pretty much at release. I think I bought it like a week later or something, but I haven't gotten around to playing it. Like I said, I don't really have a whole lot of time to play games anymore. Just between the YouTube channel and actual job and stuff, I don't really have time to play a lot, so haven't gotten around to this. It's been a very busy couple of months with games. I picked it up so that I have it going forward, because next time there's a downtime in games, this will probably be the one I play. This looks really, really good, and I was really excited when it was announced, and I cannot wait to play it in a couple of months, probably. And next up we have the first game I played on the system, and one of my favorite games of last year, Guardians of the Galaxy. This game was fantastic and is hugely underrated. I know the Marvel's Avengers Square game was absolutely trash. It was god-awful, and I understand. But this one was perfect. This is what the Avengers game should have been. It is single-player, story-driven. The characters are all fantastic. It's so well written. This game was fantastic, and honestly, people did not give it a fair try. This game was great. Beat this game in the first week after it came out, or after I picked it up with the PlayStation, and I absolutely loved it. One of my favorite games on the system, so much so that I actually have a piece of the GameStop ad for it on my closet door, which I'm sure you've seen in other videos if you've watched other videos. When I had the camera facing that way, it was there. And this is why it is one of my favorite games on the PlayStation 5 right now. And honestly, I cannot recommend picking this up enough, even if you pick it up on the PS4 or something. Fantastic game. My favorite game I've played on the system so far. And next up we have another game that I did not play, but that's because it came out digitally first, and it was digital for a while before the physical version came out, and I was waiting on it. And then by the time the physical version came out, I didn't have time to play it. So we have Kenna, the Bridge of Spirits. It looks really good. I really like the art style of this game. It looks gorgeous in trailers and stuff, so I can't wait to play this game. I just haven't gotten around to it. This is a recent pickup, though. It was on sale at Best Buy a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago. So I picked it up just because it was on sale, and I really wanted to pick up the game. Kenna, the Bridge of Spirits. Can't wait to play it, but haven't gotten around to it yet. As you can see, it is also still sealed. There's going to be a running theme with the system. A lot of stuff is still sealed because, honestly, for the first 6 months or so of having the system, I did not buy a whole lot of games for it because there really wasn't a whole lot that I wanted to buy, and the games I did want to buy were still $70, and I don't really want to spend $70 on a lot of games. I was very picky on what I was picking up at that price, and I still am, to be honest. That's why there's only 15 games here. I'm not going to pay $70 for every game. I do wait for sales for a lot of these, and it just is what it is. I'm not made of money. $70 is a lot. And while I don't mind that the game costs $70, if it's something good, I will pay it just to play the game. It is what it is. I'm not going to complain about the $70, but I'm also not going to just throw money at every game that is what I would consider too much money for it. I'm going to wait for a sale, or I'll buy it used. I don't really care. Speaking of wasting $70, we have the next game, The Last of Us Part 1. And I love this game. This game is fantastic. I own 3 copies of this game now, and it is one of my favorite games. It is not worth $70, but I'm an idiot and I bought it anyway because I really wanted to replay the game. And while I could have just played the PS4 version on the PlayStation 5, which I think has a patch to update it too, I wanted to play this version because this was the new special shiny toy and I wanted it. This was a waste of money. Don't buy this game for $70. Just buy the PS4 version for $8 or something. It's incredibly cheap, or at least it was when I purchased it several years ago used at GameStop. It was a $10 game or something, so I assume it's still incredibly cheap. Purchase that. don't buy this. This game is just completely a waste of money. It is $70 and it does not need to be. If they had released this as a budget title at like $40, I'd be singing its praises, because it's a fantastic game. It is a fantastic remake of a fantastic game. It looks so much better. I know the trailers don't show it looking that much better. When you actually play it, it looks so much better than the PS3 game. Not so much better than the PS4 game, but still better than the PS4 game. But it looks leagues better than the PS3 game. That's just undeniable. And it really is worth the update, just not worth $70. If it was a $40 game, that'd be a different story. I just don't see $70 in this. But I did buy it anyway, because I love this game. I had to buy it. Next up, we have a couple games that I have not played. We're just going to do them back to back. We got Life is Strange, True Colors. Haven't played it yet. It looks good. The story looked interesting, and I want to play it. Just haven't played it. Don't really have time to play it. And it's a story game, so like once I start playing it, I want to just play through it. I'm not really sure how long it is. I'm kind of just waiting until I have some free time. But that's all. It's just another game I picked up, and I was like, oh, I want to play that game. Let's just buy it now so I can remember to play it later. And this next one I bought for the opposite reason, which is Lost Judgment. I love the series Yakuza, and this is a spin-off of the series, so I definitely want to pick it up for that reason. But also, I haven't played Judgment. I own Judgment on the PS4, but I have not played it yet. I'm still working my way through some of the Yakuza games. I'm in the back half of them, but haven't played all of them. So I want to buy the game just so I have it, so I can play it at a future time, but I have not played the first one yet, so that's really it. It's just something to have, so I know I can play it when I'm ready to play it, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. So, holding out to play it, but definitely looks really good, and I can't wait to play it in the future. And next up, we have a game that I did play, although I played this on the PS4, and that is Spider-Man Miles Morales. I did wait to get the Ultimate Launch Edition, so I got the remaster of Spider-Man for the PS4, because apparently you can't get the game without buying this version of it. It's weird, but whatever. Miles Morales was absolutely fantastic. One of my favorite games on the PlayStation 4. I played that at launch, and I purposely rebought the game to play it again on the PlayStation 5, and I loved it. And it's still fantastic, and it honestly, either version of the game, if you can play either one, just play them. Both games are really good, and this has both games, so. But the original Spider-Man is a digital-only copy, which is annoying. I don't like digital games, but I want to be able to play the game again, and the remaster was, better. So, I like the remaster, although I don't really see why they changed Spider-Man's face. I don't like the new face. Nothing against the new face, but I like the older face better. The older face made him look a little bit older. Now he looks like a kid, and he's supposed to be like in his 20s, so it's a little weird. But overall, both games are fantastic. Can't wait for Spider-Man 2 to come out in probably a year or two. And Miles is a lot of fun to play as. And also, you can get a cat in this game, and I love cats. And next up, we have what is, I assume, considered the big first-party exclusive for the PS5 right now, and that is Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. It's okay. It's really short. I didn't think it was very long, and which is fine, because the game... Ratchet & Clank is the kind of game that if you make it even a little too long, it becomes boring really quickly. So a short game was fine. I just don't see, I don't know, the way they hyped up the game, the rifts were going to be amazing. The rifts aren't really that interesting. It just, pulls you into another world, and, it's cool, but they're all predetermined. It's way less interesting than they made it sound. They made it sound like you could just, rift into places, and it was going to take you somewhere random or whatever. It's not really like that. The rifts that are there are always the same ones, so you're always going to the same place, and I don't know, it's a fine game, but nothing crazy. It's exactly what I expected out of Ratchet & Clank, which is just a decent game. Not really worth $70 in my opinion, but other than that, it's a fun game. I did enjoy it. One of the games that I really did enjoy on the system is also one of the first games I played on the system, but not something I particularly would pay $70 for. It's a good game. It's a very okay game. And next up we have the other major title for the system that's exclusive, and that is Returnal. And this game was also really good. I don't know if it's $70 good, but it is really good. I did not beat this game. I don't really know how you would beat this kind of game since it's constantly restarting, but
I played it a few times. I don't remember getting very far in any of my runs. I'm not very good at the game. It's not the kind of game I'm good at, but it was a lot of fun, and if you are into the roguelike games like Hades and stuff like that, but more horror-y, this is probably for you. It was a lot of fun, but I put maybe a couple hours into it and then stopped playing, because something about repeating the same things over and over again, the same progress. Obviously, it's randomized, so it's not exactly the same, but something about keep restarting. I need that definitive endpoint, and I didn't see one, really. Maybe there is one, and I'm just really bad at the game, but I didn't see a definitive end to the game, so I kind of just stopped playing. But it was cool. It's a good game, and if you're into these kind of games, it's a lot of fun. If you liked Hades, you'll probably like this. It just wasn't... It didn't keep my attention more than a few hours. A couple playthroughs. It's fun to pop in every once in a while just to try it again, but it's not something I actually care to finish or to make sure I get the whole thing of. It's something that I would just play for fun occasionally when I just need something quick to pick up and play. And next up we have Sackboy: A Big Adventure, and this game looks really good, but it's, as you can see, still sealed. I haven't played it yet. I do like platformers a lot, so that's why I picked this up, but I've never really been a huge Sackboy fan. The other ones that I've played weren't really my kind of game, but this looks really good. I don't know if it's the same, it just looked like a platformer. It looked cute, I want to play it. Haven't had a chance to play it yet, but it's very low on my list of things to play. It was more just, I wanted a game for the PlayStation, so I picked this up, and then I didn't have time to play it, and now I just don't have time to play it. So, one day I'll get around to it, but it's not like the end of the world if I don't play this. And next up we have Tales of Iron, and I bought this game because it was pretty cheap at Best Buy. I think it was like $15 or something. I didn't get a chance to play it. I really only bought it because it looked really good, but it also looks like one of those small, like, early releases that you quickly lose track of if you don't have them already. Like, if I didn't buy this game, I probably would have forgot it existed for like 5 years, and then someone, random jackass, would have made a video on it on YouTube and been like, hey, this game's fantastic, you gotta play it, and it would be impossible to find. So I picked it up just so I know I have it, because it does look really good, but it's the kind of game that I feel like if it's not in front of me, I'll definitely forget about it. And for $15, it's fine. Like, I'm willing to just hold onto it and play it when I have a chance. This will just be something I pick up and play eventually. Like a million of my other games. Eventually I'll pick it up and play it, just haven't had a chance to. But it looks really good. And on to our final game. It is Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I picked this game up recently. I've played some of this game. However, I played this on the PS4, got it on the PS4 initially, and played a decent amount. I don't know exactly how much of it I've played, but I remember getting up to the point where you get this lady added to your team. I don't remember her name. It's been a little while since I've played it. I got her on my team. I was really loving the game, but I kind of kept starting and stopping, and eventually I was like, you know, I really like the game, but I haven't played some of the other ones yet. I want to go back and play the other ones first, and that's just what I've done. Since then, I've gone back and started the series and played most of them. I think I'm on 5 now. I think I'm up to Yakuza 5 now. So I've been playing the other games since then, and I will go back to this game eventually when I beat 5 and 6, but until then, it's just kind of been put on hold. But I wanted to pick it up on the PlayStation 5 just to have the PlayStation 5 version so that when I do go back to it, I can play this version, because when I initially got it, I didn't have a PlayStation 5. So when I finally got a PlayStation 5, I decided to pick up this copy just to have so that I can play that version later. Also, it's just part of the Yakuza collection. I think I have every game in the series on for every version of it, so the only thing I'm missing, I believe, physically at this point is the Xbox copy of Like a Dragon, which I will find eventually, and then some like Japanese exclusive games, which I will import eventually. I even have the Wii U copy of 1 and 2 HD. So, and if you didn't see my Yakuza video, I have a whole video on every Yakuza game I think that was available in America at the time, with the exception of this one and the Xbox version of this one. But I have all the collector's editions, everything else, so this was just picking up to continue that and have the rest of the series, and to keep my collection of the complete series going, but also because I want to play it eventually. And I did really like what I played, just haven't finished the game. And that's it for the games I actually own on the system. Not a whole lot, honestly, and as you can tell, even with the ones I own, I haven't actually played a ton of them. I've only played a handful, really. I just don't have time to play a whole lot of games, and the PlayStation isn't my only system. It's not really even my main system. Obviously, I do a lot of Nintendo stuff and then a lot of retro stuff, so it's hard to find time to play all of these games, but I do my best. Play what I can when I can, and this newer games tend to take a back seat because I don't really care to play them. As soon as they come out, I'll play them eventually. I've played a good amount, but not a huge amount on the PlayStation 5. But before we go into final thoughts, I just want to talk about some of the games coming up for the PlayStation that I don't have yet, but am looking forward to. Like I said, God of War comes out in a little over a week now. I think it's on the 9th, and this is the 30th, I think. I'm really looking forward to that. That's another one where I did buy a collector's edition, and I know it's going to be a digital copy, and that's fine. I don't really want a digital copy. I want the physical copy, and I will eventually get the physical copy, but also I really want that hammer, so it is what it is. I don't like that Sony's doing this. This is one of my biggest complaints of Sony right now. All the games are coming with digital copies of their games, but you're getting steelbooks with them, and like, I'm paying $200 for this collector's edition, and you can't put a disc in it. It's a little annoying, honestly. It's just really just annoying. I get that you have a digital-only system, but honestly, the people who have the digital-only PS5 probably don't want the collector's edition anyway, and if they do, make a digital copy of the collector's edition. Like, you could have had two versions of this. You could have just had two versions of this, had a physical and a digital version, and they're the same price. Or just like throw a digital code in the game. I don't know. I really don't see I don't know what they could have done otherwise, but honestly, just putting a disc in there seems like the better way. Like, you're getting a physical game case. There should be a physical game to go with that game case. Otherwise, what is the point of the steelbook? So that's just me. I want the physical version. I wanted the hammer, so I got the physical, or the collector's edition. I'll buy a physical version later. It is what it is. Other games coming up, we know there is a Spider-Man 2 in development, and that'll probably be in a relative future, like next year or maybe the year after. We know Wolverine is in the future. That'll probably not be for like another 2 years or something. That one I assume is a little bit further off. I assume we're going to see Spider-Man 2 as like the next big release for the system. But that's just a guess. I don't really know, obviously. No one really knows. I can't really think of a whole lot of other games that they have announced, though. I know Star Wars got like indefinitely delayed. There's some exclusives that we know about, like the new Final Fantasy and some other stuff, but those aren't Sony games. They're just third-party games that Sony paid to have exclusive, which there's not really a whole lot of Sony games that I can think of that I'm really looking forward to. We're getting the new God of War, so that there's not going to be another one of those for a while. We got Gran Turismo already, we got Horizon already, we're getting a new Spider-Man, we're getting the Wolverine game. So Insomniac is pretty much full up on games, and they just released Ratchet & Clank, so we're probably not getting another Ratchet & Clank for a long time. I don't really know what Naughty Dog is working on. I don't think they have anything announced at this time. It's probably The Last of Us Part 3, but to be honest, they might make something before that, because The Last of Us seems to be an end of the lifetime, or end of a system's life game, not really a beginning one. And we just got 2, so it might be a while before we get 3. I'm not really sure what they're working on. I don't think anyone obviously knows what they're working on, but we don't really have a whole lot that we are looking forward to for the system, as opposed to already have. They've already kind of put out most of their major series. Like I said, God of War, Spider-Man, Gran Turismo, Ratchet & Clank, most of the main series that PlayStation actively uses have already gotten releases. Now, maybe that means that they're going to go back to some of the old series that they don't really use as much and start making games for those, and that would be great, but we don't really know that yet, and without any announcements, I don't have any confidence that they're going to go back and make, like, a Sly Cooper game, Gravity Rush, Resistance, maybe we get a Jak and Daxter game or something. Like, there's a ton of games that they own the IP for that we could get, but we don't really have any clarification on whether or not we are getting that. And with a lot of the bigger series already made, I'm kind of curious what they're going to do. Like, we're only 2 years in, and we have some of the biggest titles that PlayStation has already on the system, and a couple of them are already announced to be coming, and we assume that those are going to be relatively soon. We're going into year 3, and while 3 years is not a huge amount of time. Most systems only last between 5 and 7 years, so realistically, we're getting close to the halfway point of the PlayStation 5's life. I know it doesn't seem that way, but it's been a few years now, and there's really not that many games on the system, but at the same time, a lot of their biggest IPs have already been released on the system, and a lot of the problem is that most of them are cross-gen, so it doesn't really feel like we've gotten a lot of PS5 games. We've gotten a lot of PS4 games that have been put on the PS5, but not a lot of PS5 games. So this is a weird generation. Obviously, I think most people agree that this generation is going to last a lot longer than past generations have. This will probably be closer to a 7 to 10 year generation. And if that's the case, which, again, I do think it will be, then we're nowhere near the halfway point of this generation. We're only in the beginning, first couple years. But if you're looking at the typical 5 to 7 year lifespan for a system, we're coming up on year 3. That's getting that's that halfway year, and it's weird. It's a weird feeling. I think a lot of it has to do with how hard it was and kind of still is to get a PlayStation. So there hasn't been a huge amount of PlayStation 5 releases yet, like specifically for the system. But I think they're going to have to move on to that eventually. And once they do, it becomes more important to have one. But right now, there's honestly not a good, compelling reason to have a PlayStation 5 specifically. I think Spider-Man 2 will be the first game that really pushes for having a PlayStation 5. I think Spider-Man 2 is going to be PlayStation 5 exclusive. I don't know if we know if it is or not, but my assumption is that that's going to be exclusive. And if that's the case, I think that'll be the first game that really pushes people to, you have to get a PlayStation 5 because this game is going to be amazing and you can't play it on the 4. But as of right now, the big PlayStation 5 games are all on the PlayStation 4. Miles Morales, Forbidden West, God of War, they're all PlayStation 4 games at the end of the day. You can play them on the old system. You don't need a PS5. So right now, I don't really suggest buying one. If you can get one and you can afford one and like good, it's definitely worth having. The games do look really good. They play really well. I've loved the PlayStation 5 for what it is. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the games that you're playing. And as long as you have access to playing them, I don't think you really need the PS5 to do so. I'm happy that I bought it. I'm happy to have it. And I will continue buying my games on it because it's the better system. But I don't think it's necessary, really. It's kind of just a nicety to have. It's not really a necessity to have at this point. But going forward, I do hope that they start putting more stuff on the PlayStation 5, give it some value. Not just because, I have a PlayStation 5 and I want the games to really take advantage of it, but trying to hold games to the base PS4 is kind of making a lot of what the PlayStation 5 does irrelevant because of the hard drive differences. One is a solid state and one is a mechanical drive. The difference between the two is really what makes the PlayStation 5 so much better. And when you're still building things with the PS4's hard drive in mind, the mechanical drive in mind, you have to do things differently. And that leads to a lot of problems that could be solved on the PlayStation 5. Like file sizes could be smaller if the games were PS5 exclusive. Not saying they will be. Honestly, they probably won't be because of assets at that point, but they could be smaller if you leave behind the PS4. But they're not because they have to consider the mechanical drive as opposed to just making for the SSD. So I would just like them to move on to the PlayStation 5 at this point. I think God of War is a good cutoff point. That's the last... the God of War Ragnarok is supposed to be the end of this God of War arc. That's what they have billed it as. So at that point, you have both big God of War games on the PS4. You have both Horizons on the PS4. There's not really a reason to continue releasing things on both systems. I think this is a good cutoff point where the PS4 got 2 games in all of the major IP that Sony has been releasing over the last few years. The Last of Us, God of War, Horizon, Spider-Man. They all have multiple releases on the PlayStation 4. It's time to get things just to the PS5. And I think if they focus more on that, we might get some better games that really require the PS5, that really take advantage of it and that make it worth the purchase. But for $500, and you can play all these games on your old system, it honestly just seems a little bit like a waste of money. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching. If there are any PS5 games you think I should purchase, let me know. I definitely want to get around to some of these games that I already have, but always willing to pick up more games if they're going to be very good. And again, I do really like the system, and I'm really happy to have it. But if you're out looking for one, honestly, I would just play what you can on the PlayStation 4 for now. And when you find one, great. Until then, it's not that big of a deal. I don't think it's really worth the extreme effort that you seem to have to put in to be able to get one. I know I put a lot of effort into getting one, and I don't think it's really worth all that effort. It's nice when you can find one and you can pick one up, but if you have to really fight to get one and wait in lines and online and be checking different websites and jumping on it as soon as it happens, it's not worth all the trouble. Just get it when you can, if you can. Otherwise, enjoy the PS4 for now, because frankly, everything you kind of want to play on it is already on the PS4. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in Nerd News tomorrow.